All right. Good afternoon, wrestling fans. This is Mac Bolan, IllinoisMatmen.com, and again, our weekly podcast. I'm joined here with Rob Sherrill. And as we always do, we'll give a shout out to our ranking sponsor, GEI Wrestling Apparel. If you want it, go earn it. So I guess we'll just start off going back to last weekend. Season's winding down, but there were still some very notable things taking place. So go ahead and start with Class A.
All right. I'll tease a very important match coming up tonight at West Carroll between Dakota and Lena Winslow Stockton. That's a double duel. They'll also both wrestle West Carroll. That taking place tonight. The team of the week this past week was Orion. They last night they beat Sherrard 39-33. They beat Erie Prophetstown 59-12 to win the conference for the first time since 2007. And they also won their tournament last weekend for the first time in a good long while. So they are having a great season and getting into top 10 territory in 1A. Coal City won the Interstate 8 conference tournament. And those are some of the 1A highlights.
Okay, so Coal City probably was the favorite in the I-8 conference.
That was pretty much a two-team tournament.
Okay.
They outscored Wilmington 225.5 to 9, and from there way down to Streeter in third place at 118.5. So it was pretty much a two-team race in that tournament.
That's a good showing by Wilmington.
Yeah, very much so. And that's another big match going on tonight with Wilmington and Coal City wrestling each other to finish off the Interstate 8 conference season. Actually, that match is tomorrow night. Tomorrow night at Coal City, and we'll have that result for you next week. But that's the big match of tomorrow night, as well as the a little more 1A action on a Friday night than you would expect. The OCAW duels also taking place tomorrow night at Tolono with Clinton, Shelbyville, Warrensburg, Latham, and Argento Oriata. So still lots of great 1A action left to go.
Yeah, so near the top of your rankings in 1A, then you've got, as you mentioned, Dakota versus Lena Winslow and Wilmington versus Coal City.
Right. So that, of course, first one taking place tonight, and Wilmington at Coal City tomorrow night. So
nice.
Two big matches to finish off the regular season.
Okay, so what do we got in 2A?
Last night, once again, some big news out west with Dixon beating LaSalle Peru 40-15, and that is going to take Dixon near the top 10 in Class 2A. That by far their biggest win of the year. They've had some quality wins over a few Northern Illinois Big 12 teams, mostly over competition. So this is the first win they've had this year that will really help them improve their ranking. There are still some pretty good teams ahead of them that are going to stay where they are based on the competition they've wrestled. But Dixon making their move towards the top 10. Also making a big move this week was Wakanda. They beat Grant for the first time in many years by a score of 34-21, and that's always a big deal when they're even able to give Grant a match, let alone win it handily. So Wakanda making the big move up into well into the top 10 of 2A, and so those are the big were the big those were the big movers in 2A. A couple of big matches left to go tonight. And Sycamore wrestle each other in a double duel that also includes Fulton, which has had a great run this last week with 4 big wins, and the Castle Challenge Saturday night between Harvard and Marengo. So that's also a match that will determine the championship of the new Kishwaukee River Conference. So those the big matches in 2A. Rochester made its rankings debut in 2A at number 23, and a couple of dual events this weekend down south. They don't technically count as tournaments. They're just 2 conferences that are having their duels to determine their dual champions. But the Mississippi Valley duels, which are going to be at Waterloo, probably Triad will win that, but we'll see how that one goes. And of course, the South 7 duels, which include Cahokia, Carbondale, and Marion is hosting the final rounds of that on Saturday. So those are the 2A highlights.
And obviously in Class 3A, just to start right off, we did the webcast on the Chicago Catholic League Championship. And for those of you watching, if you haven't caught it yet, it is archived on YouTube. You can catch all the action, plus the interviews. There are plenty of links on the Illinois Matmen page. To run through it real quick, it started out really tight as a 4-team race. Montini did pretty well getting guys in the finals. Providence, Mount Carmel, Marmion Academy, their depth started to show come Saturday when you got into the wrestleback rounds. And once you got to the consolation semifinals and you had all the finals set, Marmion made a big push and jumped into first place, and basically increased their lead. And pretty much, I would say, probably after the first few finals matches, and which included they wrestled finals, 3rd place and 5th place matches, Marmion Academy pretty much had it mathematically wrapped up by then. Providence made a big push in the wrestleback rounds. They finished in 2nd, Mount Carmel 3rd, and then Montini in 4th. Just a few notes. The 106-pounder, Lindsay from Providence Catholic, very impressive. He avenged an earlier season loss against Keene from Bishop Mack and won by major decision, actually. Very impressive. The other guy that impressed me, everybody knows, Austin O'Connor won his 4th. Riojas from Mount Carmel won his 4th straight championship. But the guy from Marmion Academy, Fleck, who just a weekend prior, I watched him wrestle at the Sandberg duels and had some really bad matches during the season. And at the Sandberg Super Duels, just got pounded. And then bounces back to win the Catholic League Championship. And he wrestled great. He had a great day.
Yeah, I think Marmion in general just I'm not going to say they exceeded my expectations. I don't think there's really nothing to be surprised about any time they do well. But they did have a great weekend. And if there's anybody out there who is surprised that Montini only finished 4th, here's an interesting stat from the Cheesehead. And as you know, they won the Cheesehead. They were really impressive.
Yeah.
They had 6 in the finals at the Cheesehead, 3 champs, 8 in the top 4. Well, those 8 wrestlers in the Cheesehead combined to win 49 matches. 33 of those 49 matches were with bonus points.
Wow.
16 falls, 7 techs, and 10 major decisions. The rest of the team had a grand total of 6 wins on the mat. So when you look at that distribution of wins throughout their lineup, and the depth of the other 3 teams they were going against, probably not that much of a surprise that they only finished 4th.
Yeah, Melendez looked great, like he always does. I think that there was a big match at 106. Ragusan, and he faced a tough match. It was a close match, and again, it's one of those it could completely flip flop when we get to the state, through the sectionals and the state series. Sure. And Woods, of course, looked great. Luan won. Mount Carmel took a little bit of a hit not having Thomas in the lineup. Sure placer, possibly in the finals. Hard to say. It's a what if. Overall, as a team, Providence looked really good too. And they actually had a senior in the starting lineup, 1 senior in the starting lineup, and they had a freshman in Swire make the finals.
Right. Yeah, once again, you look at, sticking with Mount Carmel for a moment, they did obviously what we would expect it to do, showed a lot of depth. Did have 5 in the finals, I think more than we were speculating, but obviously only the 1 champion in Riojas, or 2 champions, Riojas and Benoit. But I did give my Riojas my number 1 star this week for after getting shut out of the awards distribution at the tournament. Obviously, he beat 3 ranked kids, so so he deserved something, and whatever I give him is not going to make up for not getting the OW or the Tony Wallace, but it was the best I could offer.
Yeah.
But again, so yeah, maybe not having Thomas did make a little bit of a difference, but you're probably talking about the difference between maybe 3rd place and 5th place in terms of, because Miles Hoey did finish 5th, so they could have gotten 2nd. Maybe whether they could have gotten 1st is
tough to say. That was awful.
That's speculation at best.
Yeah, that's a lot of points to overcome too.
Right.
By the time the tournament finished, Marmion Academy had a pretty healthy lead.
Right. And looking at what Providence did, really very much the same sort of distribution. They had a lot of guys going for 3rd. They also had 5 in the finals, and also only 1 champion with Lindsay winning it. They placed in the top 6 at every weight but heavyweight. So they also had a lot of of balance.
Yeah, and another guy I'd like to point out, Smith from De La Salle, who was the champ at heavyweight. I hadn't heard of the guy all year. Watching him wrestle, I was amazed. He did not wrestle like a heavyweight. I mean, he was throwing moves. He was throwing the legs in. And I just thought to myself, here we have another great De La Salle heavyweight, because there's been a fair amount of them in the past, in Bus and Blades. And, it was just fun to watch, a heavyweight actually wrestling like a guy, 4 or 5 weight classes lighter.
Sure.
Let's see. Then, of course, tonight we also have at 6 o'clock in New Lenox dual meet varsity only between Providence Catholic and Mount Carmel, which should be a really good one.
Yeah, that'll be a great one. There aren't going to be many bonus points in that one. That is that's a weight class where that's a duel where both teams are pretty strong everywhere. You might see some at 160, you might see some at heavy, but other than that, you're not going to bonus points are going to be really hard to come by. So,
all right, some of the other stuff.
Whatever team can win 8.
Yep.
That's probably
Yep.
That's probably going to make the difference.
So we also had the Southwest Suburban, and I don't know if it's a true conference championship, because I'd heard someone say the Joliet schools had dropped out of the Southwest Suburban Conference. I don't know if that's true or not.
They're in the Suburban Prairie now, wrestling the Oswegos and those folks.
But from what I understand, they still participated in the tournament.
Fields. Yeah, yes, they did. Well, they did. That's right. I believe they did wrestle in the tournament.
Yeah, of course. Now Lockport won easily, which was expected. I believe was Sandburg second, and then Lincoln Way West third.
Right. Yes, they did. They did wrestle in the tournament. I don't know if they wrestled everybody during the season. No, I don't think any of these teams wrestled everybody else in the conference. It is it is a 15-team league, so you're not going to get to everybody. And they don't normally have a system like the Interstate 8 or the Catholic League or some of these other conferences where they might get 4 teams together and everybody wrestles twice. The Mid-Suburban League started doing that a couple of years ago. But it was
it pretty much went as expected. Lockport won easily. And the other one, we had the Oak Park River Forest Husky Invitational on Saturday. Then, of course, on Sunday they do their big kids tournament, the Susan B. Collins Memorial, which is always massive. 500-600 kids. It's
very eclectic. Very eclectic field at Oak Park River Forest. I just did a little snippet for Win on that. There were ranked wrestlers from 4 different states.
Right.
That won titles. I felt bad that we couldn't give Aguilar better competition at 113 than he had.
Yeah.
But
that's Gilroy.
That was really a man amongst boys there.
Yeah.
But
because some of the
I'm gonna pull up that bracket and give you an idea of some of the guys that other guys that we saw. Gilroy, California was there. Christian Brothers College from St. Louis. Several nationally ranked wrestlers.
Yeah, it was a good match there at 126. Good match at 126.
Oh yeah, right. Exactly. Malik Johnson came up from 120 to wrestle Madrigal. Madrigal won that 1-0. And
Arrowhead, Wisconsin.
Right. They finished third, and again, Aguilar had a 40-second pin, a technical fall, and a quick injury default among his 3 matches. So it's too bad we couldn't give him better competition. Sevian Severato of CBC, who has taken his lumps a little bit at 113 and even 120, down at 106 and came into my national rankings for the first time, and he won at 106. McGee continued his very impressive senior season at 120. A couple of nationally ranked guys at 132, along with Renteria. You can talk about him pinning Alex Felix, who's in my national rankings. Of course, in the semifinals, Felix had Josh Saunders of CBC. He beat him 3-1.
Wow.
Saunders, a great freshman. So that was a great weight there.
And who did Renteria wrestle in the finals from Gilroy?
He had Felix.
That was Felix. Okay.
He pinned Felix. Don't know what the score of the match was at the time, but again, Felix did beat Saunders in the semis, and which I'm sure was a great match. And of course, Hernandez beat Peterson again, second time in a week. Moving up to 160, a couple of nationally ranked guys there with Sammy Coakley of St. James Academy in Kansas, coming down from 170 to wrestle DJ Shannon of CBC.
Mm-hmm.
That match went to the tiebreaker with Shannon winning 5-4. Clay Lout of St. James won easily at 182. Lout going to North Carolina along with O'Connor and Hernandez. And boy, the more I see what North Carolina's recruiting class is doing during the high school season, this is a class that might wind up being top 3 nationally based on what their kids are doing in their respective high school seasons.
Yeah, they're loading up, no doubt about it. I mean, the Tar Heels, NC State, and Virginia Tech was already established, but
right,
those other two programs, I mean, they're putting ACC wrestling back on the map.
For sure, and usually what I'm looking for when I look at those spring recruiting classes and compare them to the fall recruiting classes, most of them obviously are pretty well set with those November signees. But what you're looking for is what those guys did during their high school seasons. And boy, these North Carolina kids, these North Carolina signees are just absolutely kicking what in their respective high school seasons. You look at O'Connor, you look at Hernandez now back in the lineup, you look at Clay Lout, who's absolutely killing people as he showed on Saturday at OPRF. You look at the two heavyweights, Furman and Janney, who just wrestled each other at the finals of the Escape the Rock, and Furman won by a point. And I'm sorry, those are Cornell's heavyweights. Cornell's class is gonna be pretty impressive too.
Cornell tends to do pretty well.
Those are 3 North Carolina guys that I just mentioned who are having great seasons.
Oh yeah. I noticed also in the lineup for Arrowhead from Wisconsin was an E-Day, which is a great wrestling family. I mean, there've been a ton of E-Days in the Arrowhead, Wisconsin lineup, and now there's another one. Oh, and for those who don't know,
that's a big family.
Yeah, for those who don't know, also Wisconsin Arrowhead's the alma mater for both Ben and Max Askren, who were pretty decent.
Right, a lot of great kids have come through there.
Okay, so anything else 3A wise notable?
Well, going back to the rest of the conference tournaments that were decided this past weekend. St. Charles East won easily at the in the Upstate 8, although Glenbard East had a nice run. Their upper weights scored some big wins. Deerfield won easily in the Central Suburban League.
Now, is Stevenson in that one too?
No, Stevenson is wrestling this week in the Lake County tournament.
Okay, Lake County. All right.
Those along with Libertyville, Grant.
Okay.
Warren. That's actually what that tournament actually is the North Suburban Conference actually split up into two conferences: the North Suburban and the Northern Lake County Conference, which includes some of those some of the schools like Warren and Zion Benton, Waukegan. They're having a joint conference tournament. It's actually going to include each of those conferences has 8 schools in it. It's going to include 14 of the 16. Antioch and Grayslake North were already contracted to wrestle in other events on Saturday, and they're going to honor those contracts. But the other 14 schools are going to be involved in this inaugural Lake County tournament, and I expect next year it'll probably include all 16 of them.
Wow. Okay, let's see. So the DVC, I believe, is coming up.
That's coming up this weekend. And that'll be at Lake Park. The rest of the conference slate for this weekend, it's, of course, pretty slim one. The Mid-Suburban will be at Prospect. That'll be a battle between Barrington and Conant. Prospect and Wheeling will be the schools in the running there. The Nick 10 will be at Belvedere North. I would expect Hononegah to win that one easily. On Friday night, the East Suburban Catholic varsity tournament will wrestle. That will be at Carmel, and they'll wrestle their lower level tournaments on Saturday. It's their chance to give the lower level programs a little bit of exposure by letting them have the Saturday schedule instead of the Friday night schedule.
Okay, so let's see. ESC Notre Dame top team.
Probably so. I think you're going to obviously many people Marian Catholic decides to enter, but if they enter their full team, they're I would say Marian and Notre Dame would be co-favorites probably.
Yeah.
Marian Central will have some folks. Carmel will have some folks.
Marist.
So will St. Patrick. So. And Marist, leave them out.
Can't leave Marist out.
So if Marian Catholic enters their full team, it's going to be a dogfight.
Okay. So, anything else notable coming up this weekend? Of course, the season's winding down, and then
it's pretty. Yeah, this is pretty much the curtain on the regular season. There are a few other downstate. The Litchfield tournament is a big one for a lot of 1A schools. You'll see Lena Winslow there. You'll see Vandalia there. You'll see Orion there. You'll see Harrisburg and West Frankfort and Lawrenceville come up from the deep south. So it's an individual tournament that brings together teams from a really from a really large area. So that one I think will be pretty interesting. Lockport will be at Deerfield on Saturday for a single duel. See if Lockport can finish out an undefeated duel season. Andrew will be at Sandburg at noon for their usual season-ending duel. And that's kind of the wrap-up of the regular season.
Yeah, and to make note, several conferences in this state do not have conference tournaments. They settle it via the the dual meet season, which, for instance, the West Suburban Conference and plenty others. Next week on Thursday, it'll be a big one, and it'll probably going to be a long one because we're going to break down all the regionals. And as you know, regionals start Saturday, February 4th. And, interesting to note, particularly in a few cases in 1A and in 3A, there's some real imbalance in the regional assignments, and we'll go over all of that come next week. Right.
We'll give you a complete regional preview in next week's show.
Absolutely. So tonight we're going to end it kind of early because, again, there's just not a whole lot taking place and coming up. For those of you listening, again, I do want to mention that 6 p.m. dual meet down in New Lenox, Mount Carmel at Providence Catholic, 6 p.m. tonight, varsity only, and I'm sure they're going to do it right.
Oh yeah, they always do.
All right.
It'll be a good one.
All right. So Rob, anything else you want to add?
No, I think we've pretty much covered it. Well, as you've heard, we have lots of good matches left to go.
Okay, then we'll go ahead and say good evening. And this is Mac Boland with Rob Sherrill. We will see you again next week, hopefully back at the normal time of 7 p.m. CST. And like I said, we will go over all those regionals. So it'll be a good one, probably a little bit longer. Anyway, everybody, have a good evening, and we'll see you next week.